I'm Kendra, and here at Happenstance Place, life is homemade, especially most of the food that we eat. I've been asked a lot of questions about what we eat and how I make it, so during the month of February, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evening, sometimes on the late side, I will be posting a food video to help you feed your face the way we do. Just to note, we have a large kitchen garden and can and preserve a lot of our own food, so most of the things that I make are made with our home's canned ingredients. However, I've tried to pick recipes that you can easily substitute commercial products for the canned things that I use so that you can make these at home. If you want to see more about our handmade home life, you can go ahead and subscribe down below, where I daily vlog and post additional crafty and cooking content from time to time. Now, on to tonight's recipe, which is our homemade biscuits. The biscuit recipe that I use is one that I have kind of developed over time using some of the ingredients that we have on hand. These biscuits do not include oil or butter, as most biscuit recipes do. Instead, we're going to use, in this case, canned winter squash as our wet ingredient, so to speak. We also make these same biscuits using applesauce, but the squash we grow in our own garden. So I have more readily available and at a lower price point, whereas we pick the apples at a you-pick orchard. So they cost us more per pound. So what I'm gonna do is just smush up some of the winter squash, which I poured out of my can. You could substitute commercially canned pumpkin. It's just as delicious. Or you can also just substitute applesauce. It's anywhere between 1/2 and 3/4 of a cup, what you're gonna want. And basically, you're gonna mix the water in after you mix this, so you will be able to determine how much moisture to add to your biscuit dough. I guess it's dough. How much water to add based on how moist your fruit or vegetable is. So we do use pumpkin sometimes, canned pumpkin, but we grow a lot of what we call green striped cushaw, and we can that as a winter squash, and we use that to make our biscuits. And we eat these biscuits at least 2-3 times a week, and today I'm going to show you how to make them plain. So now that I have that all squished up, I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven. I'm going to add my flour. It's going to be 2 cups of flour. I prefer to use whole wheat flour, but we are currently out of whole wheat flour, so I am using regular all-purpose flour, which I buy in bulk and store in these large plastic rolling bins under my counter. So there's 1 cup of flour. And here is 2 cups of flour. The nice thing that we have found over time as we have played with this recipe is that it's very easy to make a double batch, and it doesn't affect the taste or the quality, which can sometimes happen in baked goods. We're also going to add a teaspoon of salt. I just keep my salt in a little jar on my counter, and I always keep a teaspoon in it because a teaspoon is what I use to make my biscuits, and I make them so frequently. Then you're going to use some baking powder, and we're going to put in 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Might seem like a decent amount, but because there's no other real leavening in these, that's why the baking powder is at such a high quantity. I also like to add a little bit of sugar. Just kind of eyeball it, a couple tablespoons, maybe a little less. I find that that helps to give you a better texture to your biscuit. So now I'm just going to take my spoon and stir the dry ingredients together. Then we're going to add our, in this case, squash, but it could be applesauce just as easily. Okay, so now I'm just going to stir this together and kind of just break everything up. I'm just going to kind of mash together. It'll become kind of a crumb mixture. You're just trying to get everything good and incorporated. Depending on the water content of your wet ingredient. You may need to add more or less water. Okay, so you see how there's kind of a crumminess to all of that? It's starting to stick to itself a little. So now I'm going to go and measure 2/3 of a cup of water. I'm going to begin by adding about half of it. Just start to stir it together because you can't take it back out once you add it in. When you use the whole wheat flour, I sometimes actually need to add a little bit more than the 2/3 cup, and it all depends, and it varies by brand, and it seems to vary by the weather as well. So clearly that's not going to be enough water, so we're going to add the rest of the 2/3 of a cup in there. Just keep stirring everything together gently. You don't want to stir it too much, but you want to make sure that everything is evenly distributed. And I've almost got all the dry stuff coming up off the bottom. There's just a little left. We're going to just keep folding that in. Okay. So tonight what we are making is plain biscuits. That means we're not going to add anything else to the batter at this point. That is because these become a great base for, well, just basically having biscuits with like apple butter or peach jam or just butter if you want on them. Also, these are going to become the base for our biscuits and gravy, which are coming up on Wednesday, and for our sloppy biscuits that are coming up on Friday. This is the biscuit recipe you're going to use. Now, if you don't want plain biscuits, we also like to add chocolate chips. You can just go ahead and sprinkle a handful or so of white chocolate chips, or I enjoy the mini semi-sweet chocolate chips. Those make for a nice breakfast, and then you don't need any topping. If you need something quick to eat on the run, a biscuit with some chocolate chips in it, ready-made, hold in your hand kind of breakfast. So now, I'm just going to take my pan and set it down here. We're trying something new tonight because I got these silicone baking sheets for Christmas, and I have not used them yet. And lately our biscuits have been sticking a little to the pan, so I thought I would try it with the silicone baking mat. So then what you just do is simple drop biscuits. I'm just gonna pop a little spoonful. This usually makes somewhere between 5 and 6 biscuits. So usually for our family of 5, we end up making a double recipe. So tonight we're just gonna make a single batch, because technically it's enough biscuits. That means that that's just my oven telling me it's all heated and ready to go as soon as I am. Okay. And one more. I like the free-form biscuits. I've never been a fan of the rolled and cut. I've just always liked the drop biscuits. Growing up, we used to eat a lot of Bisquick drop biscuits. In fact, my mom's uncle made, I guess, what he called dinosaur biscuits, which were like the size of your head. And he'd send home leftover dinosaur biscuits with us, and you'd have to wrap them in tin foil because they were too big for anything else. So now, these are ready. I'm just gonna go ahead and pop them in the oven. Open our oven door and slide these in. And they will bake for, we're gonna start with 12 minutes and then check them. Again, because the water content varies so much in the canned pumpkin and the applesauce, you never quite know how long it's gonna take. So you just check them along the way. We're gonna bake them at 350 for 12 minutes and give it a little check. So my timer just went off. So now we're gonna check and see what we're looking at. They're still smooshy. So we're gonna go for another, I don't know, they felt about 4 minutes smushy, so we'll go for another 4 minutes. And here they are. They took a little longer. It turned out to be a total of 20 minutes cooking time. So 20 minutes cooking at 350 degrees resulted in beautiful, moist, delicious, vegetable/fruit laden biscuits. So these are a nice choice if you're trying to get a little extra fruit or veggie into your diet. Applesauce or squash or pumpkin of some sort. Some kind of smushy fruit. Great way to make yourself a biscuit that is packed with vitamins and flavor. If you'd like to see more of these food videos, remember, check back every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evening in February where I will show you how to feed your face the way that we do. See you later. Bye.